Today, we're recording on stolen and unceded lands of the Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung people of the Eastern Kulin Nation. We acknowledge their enduring connection to country, lands, waterways, skies, culture and communities. We honour their sovereignty and we stand with them in their ongoing calls for truth-telling, treaty sovereignty and justice and reconciliation. Before we begin, quick heads up. This episode contains references to colonisation, land dispossession and violence against First Nations people. These are challenging truths, but essential to understanding the history of Naarm-Melbourne. Plus, take care while listening, please. Before Brunswick Street was renowned for music and laneway art, and before Smith Street became retail hub, and Fitzroy and Collingwood were nothing but bushland and muddy tracks, called Newtown at the time. But did these working class outposts become Naarm-Melbourne's very first suburbs? And where did the name Collingwood actually come from? Let's delve into the origins of Fitzroy and Collingwood, where colonial ambition met contested land, and where a suburb name actually carried the echoes of another time and place. Welcome to Down the Yarra, the podcast that delves deep into the heart and soul of Naarm-Melbourne and South Central Victoria. Whether you're a local or just curious, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Andy. When the British began laying out the foundation of the future of Naarm-Melbourne in the CBD of Melbourne in 1837, land northeast of the huddle grid was still heavily wooded and home to the Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung people, who'd occupied the area for tens of thousands of years beforehand. They named the creek nearby Mary and the river the Birrung, known today as the Yarra. Yet by the early 1840s, squatters expanded further out. The area we now know as Fitzroy and Collingwood was then known as Newtown. To the settlers, it was new. But the Wurundjeri people, it was actually ancient, sacred. Roads like Brunswick Street were rough tracks and leading to the country, properties and grazing lands. By 1839, surveyor Robert Hoddle began dividing the land into sections for sale. Workers' cottages started to appear, making Fitzroy and Collingwood Naarm's first suburbs. Fitzroy became a separate entity in 1858, while Collingwood followed in 1855. But where did the name Collingwood actually come from? Here's where the story gets rather intriguing. It's commonly thought that Collingwood was actually named after Admiral Cuthbert Collingwood, Lord Horatio Nelson's second in command at the Battle of Trafalgar against Napoleon in 1805. But the archives whisper another possibility here. Collingwood might have been named after a property owned by the Hume family. Yes, of Hume Highway fame in New South Wales. John Kennedy Hume, the brother of Hamilton Hume, famous explorer, had a property near Gunning named Collingwood, situated along the now Old Hume Highway. Some historians believe that early surveyors and settlers brought the name south. Was it a nod to familiar landmark from New South Wales days, or coincidence linked to British naval hero? Truth remains debated, and these stories linger in Naarm-Melbourne's DNA today. By the mid-19th century, Fitzroy and Collingwood had become working class strongholds. Industry lined the Wurrung's banks. Tanneries, breweries, brickworks and wool stores were prevalent. Poverty and overcrowding became issues, with the area labelled as the slum by elites. Yet it remained fiercely proud and tight-knit. By the 20th century, waves of immigrants transformed Fitzroy and Collingwood into cultural melting pots. The Greeks, Italians and later the Vietnamese communities reshaped the suburbs. Today, gentrification is rewriting the story once again. Right, this isn't just a story about streets or names. It's a tale of how colonial machine carved up Wurundjeri land, forging new identities over ancient ones. The transformation of Fitzroy and Collingwood from bushland to suburbs is a microcosm of Naarm-Melbourne's wider story. Contested, complex, and still being written today. Next time in Down the Yarra, we'll dive into the fiery debate between John Batman, so-called founder, and John Pascoe Faulkner. Those two founders clashed over where Naarm settlement should rise. It was going to be Batman's hillside site? Was it going to be Batman's hillside site, what is now Southern Cross Station on top? Or Faulkner's riverside camp near Queensbridge? The story of egos, ambition, and the fight for the city's future. Thanks for tuning in to Down the Yarra today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please tap the subscribe and like button on YouTube so you'll never miss a trip into Naarm-Melbourne's past and South Central Victoria as well. From the heart of Fitzroy to the edges of Collingwood, we're uncovering the stories that have shaped the Wurrung and far beyond. Till next time, keep exploring.